them when they got to their first conference and the look on their eyes versus the look I see now, just excited about it. And so just really excited to be able to share with you guys. So welcome or good morning or whatever you want to say.
Well, Marlon, I know being here 9 years has, been a huge transformation for you specifically. And, thankfully we have some of us who have been here for a little while have been blessed to hear your story and be around you and shake hands with you. So if you don't mind, just for a short period of time here, if you don't mind sharing with everybody, because, I'm looking at your numbers, Symmetry publishes everybody's numbers every single week. And I would love to share with you, who we're hearing from here. Marlon Faulkner's organization so far, year to date, prior to any work that was done over the weekend while he was in Cabo, they're at 2.1, almost 2.2 million in production for the year so far. And what I love to attribute to growth in such large numbers is also new writers, because with new writers shows good leadership, that there's somebody leading from the front in their organization. And Marlon is a leader of leaders. So he is not only leading the new writers that come out, but he's leading the people who are leading those new writers. And they have already this year 68 new writers in his organization year to date. And I know, Marlon, when you started, you probably never imagined that was even in the wheelhouse for what's to come for you and your family. So if you don't mind sharing with everyone, just a little bit about yourself, where you came from, and, just the impact that attending a meeting like National Conference, which we all know is much larger than it was 9 years ago when we were all in Raleigh back then, and now we're in the Belco Theater in Denver. What has this really meant for you, especially if you weren't getting the results you were wanting to get in your business, and then what you learned and implemented afterwards?
Well, absolutely. So I'm going to start by saying I'm excited to be here. If you are excited, if you are ready for change in your life, if today is not just another day, if today is the day of a new beginning for you, if you are sick and tired of being sick and tired, if you are ready to be the head and not the tail, if you're ready to be the master of your life and not just a servant to it, what I want you to do is put number 7 in the chat box, because the number 7 means completion. The number 7 means we're going to finish this. The number 7 means it's time for me to get to where I got to get to, right? That's where we're at. Because I came in here 9 years ago and I was homeless. I wasn't a good husband. My wife kicked me out and I was homeless. And I got a call from a friend of mine, Nate Alford, that said, hey, you need to look at this insurance company. And I was scared. I was homeless. And the reason was because I'd never done personal development. I'd never seen what I could be. I'd never thought above what I could see. I love that you guys are reading the book of the month, Secrets of a Millionaire Mind, T. Harv Eker's one of my favorites. Another book that I would recommend is 177 Secrets of the World Class by Steve Seibel. It's a phenomenal book. It's just like where T. Harv Eker has 17 principles, wealth principles, Steve Seibel has 177. Literally, he takes 177 facts of the wealthiest people in the world and said, this is what makes people different. And here's my favorite secret. I think it's number 17 or 22. I can't remember. I haven't read it in about 2 months, but it says it talks about average people and wealthy people. It says average people believe the vision when they see it. World-class people see the vision and then they believe it. And that's where I want to start. Average people believe the vision when they see it. Have you ever heard seeing is believing? If you've ever heard that, a poor person said that. Let's just throw it out there. Poor person said that. Because in reality, rich people have to see the vision before they can believe, have to believe in the vision before they see it. And I had to believe in myself before I could see it. If I back all the way up, when I was 4 years old, I was sitting 4 or 5, and I was in my room, and my father walked in, and he did things to me that no man should do to his son, right? Like yesterday was Father's Day, and I got to celebrate with my kids that I get to be the father that I always wanted. And instead of feeling sorry for myself, like I always did, I wanted to be the best version of a father that I could be. Why? Because I never believed in myself. Because I thought to myself when I was walking down the aisle to marry my wife, if my dad did that to me and he can't love me, then how could this woman love me? See, I listened to an audio this morning on the way to work. I think everybody should listen to this audio. It's one of the first personal development audios ever recorded. It's called The Strangest Secret. It is the best. It's the first personal development. It was written by Earl Nightingale. He recorded it in the late 30s and 40s. But he said the strangest secret is whatever you think about, you become.
Mm-hmm.
So when I look at people in the mirror, when I look at people on a webinar, when I look at where you are in your life, when I looked in the mirror where I was at, you become what you think about. So when I looked in the mirror and I didn't see much, that's what I became, not much. When I looked in the mirror and saw failure, that's what I became, not much. Until a man named Nate Alford called me up and he started to believe in me because he could believe in the vision before he saw it. He believed in me before he saw it. Just like some of your leaders on here, the Miller Agency, Jordan and Jared, like who they see it in you before they can believe it, or they believe in you before they see it. Why? Because that's how leaders are created. And so when I was sitting on my porch, I'd been in insurance for 15 years. Now I want you to catch this. I'd been in insurance before Symmetry for 15 years. I never made more than $30,000 in a year. Like I was killing it the year I made $30,000. Like I took my wife to Sizzling. I bought the kids some Payless shoes, like $30,000 a year. Now I make more than triple that in a month. And here's why, because I changed the way I thought. I don't care if this is your first call, if this is your 50 millionth call, or if this, we're all shooting for the same thing. Everyone on here is shooting for the same thing, right? So we can all say we're the same. We got Black people, white people, old people, young people, beautiful people, not so beautiful people. I got to talk to Chris about people on his team. We got to get some better looking people. I'm just teasing. Like some of you guys aren't laughing, but it's loosen up. It's life. But the reality is we all want the same thing. We all want to be the best version of ourselves, and we want to care about the people that are closest to us. We all want as much money as possible with as much time as possible. We all want to be healthy and live long lives, don't we? If that's true, how is today different than yesterday? If that's true, how is today different than Friday? If that's true, how is this call different from last week's call? If that's true, how is this week's call different from last month's call? And the difference is it's you and it's how you think about yourself. So getting started, I came into Symmetry full of hopelessness. See, I tell people all the time, the only thing worse than being homeless is being hopeless. There's someone on this call, I can look in your eyes and I see hopelessness. I see you trying to win. I see you wanting to win. But in the back of your mind, it's hard to keep that thought when your electric bill has got a cutoff notice. It's hard to keep that in the back of your mind that you can do all things, that you are great, that you are the front when your mortgage is ready to be shut off. It's hard to do those things when your wife says, can we go to dinner tonight? And you say, there's not enough money in the bank account. It's hard to keep that thought in the back of your mind that you're great when your kids have needs and wants and desires and you can't afford it. But that's where we're at. And I stopped feeling sorry for myself, just like I stopped feeling sorry for you. Because it's time for you to get off your butt and go make your life happen. It's time for you to get up and stop looking at excuses. Why? Because that's what I had to do. How many of you guys would agree being homeless is a pretty good excuse why you don't have to be a millionaire and you don't have to, like being homeless was not fun. How many of you guys understand that when you have to Skype your kids at night because you're not a good enough father to be home with them, that it's hard to feel like you're an influential person? But that's where I had to start. So Jordan and Jared, I don't know if that answers your question, but I started 9 years ago. And the reality was I just didn't think a lot about myself.
Well,
I didn't.
My heart is so full just seeing who you are today and thinking that your family has the privilege of being around that guy. because he was always there. You just needed to make sure that you were working on yourself. That was it. It just took that action. It took that choice of, Marlon doesn't want to be the Marlon that he was back then, or the Marlon he was. So, if you really lay out what you've gone through, you could have been somebody totally different.
100%.
But you chose to work on you and invest in yourself and get around people who believed in you and saw that what was inside of you before it ever came out. And that's what you were able to tap into being around this kind of system and in this company. Yep. And, we were also considering, just the name Reimagine. The conference is called Reimagine. We've done an altitude conference. We've done a launch conference. And I'm sorry, I can't think beyond 2019 because 2020 was so prevalent. But just thinking about the name Reimagine, what do you feel like? Do you feel like that stops just on how we're able to do business, like reimagining how we do business, or do you think it goes farther than there when Symmetry came up with that name?
Oh, 100%. Like, how many of you guys know the definition of insanity? Someone tell me the definition of insanity.
Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result.
Doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. That's not the definition, but that's the definition we know. The real definition of insanity is the state of being seriously mentally ill, madness, extreme foolishness, or irrationality. But I'm going to go off of Jared's because I don't want to embarrass him. I had to look it up because that's the same thing I thought too. I'm not embarrassed. That's what I thought too, is doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. But you know what I realized? I was thinking about this, Jared. Most of us do that. We just do it at a higher level than when I was broken homeless. I was doing the same things over and over to stay broken homeless. Now I'm doing the same things over and over to stay a senior vice president. Like, why am I not doing different things to become an associate partner? Like, if you're an agency owner, you're doing the same things over and over, expecting different results unless you become an agency director. If you're a key leader, you can't do the same things over and over and become an agency owner. So we do the same things. And the reality was I had to look in the mirror. And I had to stop blaming circumstances. And I had to stop blaming the results. And I had to stop blaming the things that happened to me. And I had to start saying, I can't do the same things and expect different results. But that's what we do. Some of you guys got up at the same time you got up at yesterday. Some of you guys ate the same meal you ate on Friday. Some of you guys, well, probably saying this, some of you guys are wearing the same thing you're wearing. Hopefully not. Hopefully you're wearing something different. But what I realized was life is not hard. Let me make it really simple to you. I just have to do something different than I've done. I have to put in different input to get in different output. I can't keep putting in, see, we have a cell phone. And if I type in Jared's number and I push enter, the input that I give it, it's going to call Jared. If I put in Jared's number, it's not going to call Chris Cook. I have to put in a different number. I have to put in different input. But yet some of us still have the same old phone. It's like some of you guys haven't upgraded your phone. Actually, it's even worse. That's like some of you guys will upgrade your phone, but you won't upgrade your mind. Some of you will upgrade your phone. You won't upgrade your dreams. See, one of the things I talk about is I have my dream board. I made a dream board behind me. I have no idea what I'm talking about. I'm just talking right now. I made a dream board. Why did I make a dream board? Because I look at this dream board every day for 15 minutes and I shout out my affirmations. Now listen, there's a picture of a Lamborghini up top here. And someone asked me, why do you have a picture of a Lamborghini? And I said, why do you think I have a picture of a Lamborghini? And they said, because you want that. I said, that's not why I have a picture of a Lamborghini. Some of you guys are going to miss this. I have a picture of a Lamborghini on my vision board, not because I want a Lamborghini. I have a picture of a Lamborghini on my vision board because I want to be the man. I want to become the man that has enough money to buy a Lamborghini. I don't want the stuff. I want to become the man. I have a picture of a private jet on my vision board. Why? I don't want a private jet, but I want to be the man that has enough money that if I want to walk out and buy a private jet, I can go buy a private jet. See, the problem in life is that we want stuff so much, we forget that you become what you think about. I want to become so that I can have. I don't want to have so that I can become. Lord. I have a picture of the Louvre on on my vision board. Why? Because my daughter's an amazing artist. She's a junior in high school. She's known since she was 10 years old that she wants to be a prosthetic engineer. She wants to design facial prosthetics for people that get burnt. She's known since she was 10 years old. So she's about to be a senior. So on my vision board, I have a picture of the Louvre. Why? Because my vision is I want to become the man that has enough money to take his daughter to the Louvre for her senior year. Now, listen, I don't want to take my daughter to the Louvre. I could jump on a plane, but I found out for $25,000, you can take a private tour of the Louvre. I found out for $75,000, you can take a private jet over to Paris and take a private. So for $100,000, I can give my baby girl the senior trip of her lifetime. Why is that on my vision board? Because that's the man I want to become. Why? Because I think different than I used to think. Because if I think the same way, like Jared said, it's like thinking and doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. How are you going to get to the top of this company and you got the same picture of a house that you've had on your computer you've been dreaming about for 5 years? It's time for some of you guys to upgrade your dreams. Or keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results.
I know when me and Jordan came to Symmetry that we had kind of been smacked down a couple too many times, I would say, to where we stopped dreaming and we stopped creating that vision. And so, like, for you, when you came into Symmetry, what was that turning moment where dreams started to happen again for you? The vision board started to come up again. The things started to turn for you to make it to where you were like, all of those things are possible again, right? Like, because I don't know if anyone else has had that time in their life before, but I know I did, like where people had told me, no, that's not possible. No, that's not possible. One too many times where I started to believe them a little bit. But then when we came here and we realized we had open plane to run and the only variable was us, things started to change a little bit. What was that turning moment for you?
So it's kind of two turning moments. That's a great question, Jared. The first one was when I walked in a conference and we're going to talk about going to conference, but I walked into my very first conference. I was still homeless. I had zero money in my bank account. I went to conference, zero. That's why people on my team, I don't talk to people that don't go to conference. If they don't go to conference, I don't talk to them. Because if I was homeless and I found a way to go, how could you not find a way to get to conference? But when I realized I walked in, and this is just me. You asked me a question, I'm going to answer for me. When I walked in, I grew up in a very racist society. Can we say that? Being Black wasn't always a good thing to some people. And when I walked into Symmetry, the thought in my mind, remember, you become what you think about. I'd never seen an African-American that was really successful, that wasn't a football player or a singer, and that's all I'd ever wanted to be. I wanted to be a successful businessman, but I didn't see anybody that looked like me. See, I tell my kids all the time, you cannot be what you cannot see. You have to, that's why we make vision boards. That's why my kids have vision boards. That's why we do affirmations. But I walked in and I saw Edward Pritchett at the front of the room, and he was the #1 guy at Symmetry. And here's what I thought: I have no more excuse. See, every other company I'd walked into, the guys didn't look like me that were at the top of the company. How about this, ladies? How about every company you walked into, there was always a man at the front. And now we got women at the top of this company. We got single moms at the top of this company. We got single dads at the top of this company. We've got married couples, Black, white, Asian, Hispanic. We've got all kinds of people at the top of this company. And so for me, the first thing that changed was I could see what I could be. Most people don't believe that. Number 2 was very profound. I read this in the book, 177 Secrets to the World Class. And it said this. It said, whatever the mind of, well, that was Think and Grow Rich, says, whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, he can achieve. The turning point for me was when I realized that if I can think different, I can have different. And I went to that first conference, and Brian Pope's sitting on stage and he's talking. And it's the richest guy in the room. And I look around and people don't have their pens. I made $86,000 last month, and people are listening. They don't even have pens. That's okay. But Brian Pope was talking. He's worth $250 million, and he's talking. That's right, Steve. And he says, you can make it here if you just don't quit. And I wrote it down, just don't quit. And he said it again. He said, I've been in insurance for a long time, and you can make it here if you just don't quit. So I wrote it down again, just don't quit. And then I wrote it down again, just don't quit. And then I wrote it down again, just don't quit. And I looked down at the piece of paper and there were tears filling the paper because I was writing down, just don't quit, because I realized that I'd quit everything I'd ever started in my entire life. Every relationship, every job, every task, everything I'd ever done, I'd quit. And so I said, if I don't quit here, I win. And I changed my mindset in that moment. I changed my mindset to where I didn't have to, I made these notes. I don't think I've ever shared these before, but most people want a yes. And I wrote this down. I wrote, clarity often begins when you eliminate options and you start with no. Mm. So here are the things that I decided I'm not going to do. When I left that room and when I was driving home, by the way, I didn't have enough money to eat when I was at my first conference. I'll never forget, there was only 300 people in the room, which is crazy. But Linwood Watkins' team had 17 people, and they were doing a pizza party, and they were done. And I walked over to help them start cleaning up. They thought I was a nice guy. I wasn't. I was eating people's leftovers. See, some of you guys tell me you want success. You won't even go to conference, and you won't go to conference unless you have money. I didn't have money to eat. But I couldn't go back to the life that I was living before. And see, some of you guys, Brian Delaney says he has a never again moment. Some of you guys on the screen have never had a never again moment. Never again will I tell my wife, no, we can't do something because of money. Never again will I miss a kid's event because I'm working for another person. Never again will I walk into a store and not be able to buy everything in it. Never again will I look in the mirror and think shamefully. Never again. See, some of you have never had a never again moment. Never again, Brian Delaney said he was counting kids and he was counting meals, and there were more kids than meals. And he said, never again. Here's what I wrote down on that drive home from that conference, Jared, because I couldn't stay the night. I didn't have enough money to eat. I said, number one, I'm not going to complain anymore. See, everyone wants to begin with what they want to do. I'm going to tell you what I'm not going to do. See, we don't rise to the level of our expectations. We fall to the level of our standards. Mm-hmm. So here's what my nots are. I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to be a lone wolf. I'm not going to do this on my own. I called and made offer every day, 10, 15 times a day for 3 years because my family depended on it. Number three, I'm not going to be negative. If I'm around negative people, then I walk away. One of my agents said, I called you a few times last week. You never returned my call. Were you busy? I said, no, you were being negative. And I thought, if that's contagious, I don't want to be around it because I don't want to catch it. Mm-mm. Number four, I'm never going to quit. Number five, this is a big one. Some of you guys need to listen to this one. I'm not going to have any more pity parties. And here's the thing. If I have a pity party, I don't invite anybody. So I realized in my marriage, how many of you guys are married? How many of you guys realize marriage is hard? It was Father's Day, so it was a good marriage day yesterday because I got treated like a king. Usually every other day is Mother's Day or Kids Day. It's weird. But I get one day of the year for Father's Day. And I realized when I go to therapy. So I have a therapist. I went through a lot of crap in my life. My dad did things to me he shouldn't have. And so I go to therapy. But one of the things, I also have a business coach. By the way, Edward Pritchett told me 3 years ago, the more money you spend on coaching, therapy, mentorship, the more money you make. So I spend about $5,000 a month just on therapy, coaching, mentorship. And my therapist, I had a reckoning the other day that I have pity parties. Okay, I'm going to be really transparent. I have temper tantrums. When I ask my wife, hey, you want to go eat Chinese food? And I really want to eat Chinese food. And she's like, no. I'm like, no. What do you mean, no? We always have to. I have temper tantrums. I'm a baby. So when I have pity parties, my coach told me, it's okay to have a pity party. Just don't invite anybody else. Here's the difference between me and most people. I have a pity party for about 1 minute. About 1 minute. I'm driving in my car. My son had a marker Dog ran out in front of me. I slammed on the brakes. My son took his marker and ran it across the back of my 2021 Cadillac Escalade and marked it on the seat. You cannot get it out. I was mad for about a minute and I thought it wasn't his fault. He's a kid. I can always buy a new Escalade, which I'm going to. I'm not going to get mad at my son for an accident and shame him. But I got home and I had a little bit of a pity party. My wife said, "What's wrong?" I said, "I just need a few minutes." So number 5 is I'm not going to have pity parties. Number 6, this is the biggest one. I'm not going to be the same person today as I was yesterday. Most of you guys, the only problem you have is you're the same person today as you were yesterday. Do you think Chris Cook's the same person as he was 6 months ago? You think Marshall Whalen's the same? You think Brandon and Casey are the same people they were when we went to that first conference? My goal is to not be the same person today that I was yesterday. That means I get 1% better every day. I don't make New Year's resolutions. I just want to get 1% better today. I started 75 hard today. I got to drink my gallon of water. I got to do my exercise. I got to read my books. Why? I'm not going to be the same person I was yesterday. I'm not. How can I expect to be a millionaire, to build $1 million house, to have a Lamborghini, to have a, how can I expect any of that? And I think the same thoughts I did yesterday. According to Jared Gillen, that's insanity. That's crazy. Instead, I want people looking at me like, you want a private jet? You're crazy. Good. You want a Lamborghini? You're crazy. Good. I want to be the kind of crazy that's dreaming of bigger things than anyone's ever thought of, not the kind of crazy that's thinking the same way he thought yesterday. So I don't even know what the question was. I just started rambling.
No,
you ran that.
Yeah, I'll never forget in 2019, the last conference we all had, and y'all get ready for this. We're not just putting on recruiting contests just for, you all to be happy and win money at conference, but Symmetry always does something special for the top recruiters when it comes to bringing people to conference. And Jared and I got very blessed in 2019. We had no idea why or how. We didn't own our agency yet. And we had qualified for a leaders, it was on the rooftop in the Gaylord out there in DC. And I'll never forget going up there and feeling like I'm glowing. And I'm like, I can't wait to meet all these people. I've never actually gotten to sit down with them rather than in a breakout session with a recorder and all kinds of stuff. And Marlon comes up to me and I'm like, Marlon, we've never spoken a day probably. And I just wanted to say hi. And he saw right down to the bone of me. And he said, I don't know what it is that you're not allowing to come out of yourself, but you got to stop doing whatever this is. This isn't you. And I was like, I was shocked. I was rocked to the core. I was like, I'm sorry, what's going on right now? He's like, no, I'm being real with you for a minute. You will not have what you want in your business if you don't change what's going on right here. Deep down, there's something in you that is so special that could come out and be out there with everybody, and you could be passing this around, but you're not going there, and I don't know why. And I just broke into tears. I just started crying like crazy. I was like, Marlon, what is happening right now? I was like, I did not see that this was going to happen coming up to this reception, but it was the best thing that ever happened to me, Marlon, because I went home. And Jared and I actually, it was so funny. He took a video. He and I decided to do a short interview instead of working, and it was probably on a Tuesday during working hours. But he videotaped me and he said, "I want you to tell me why we don't have what we have. Why do you think we don't have this?" And and I was like, I'm afraid of having more than what we have right now.
There's more to lose.
There's more to lose. There's more at risk. And right now I can handle the risk problems we have. I've been able to manage the roller coaster, but this roller coaster life that we have isn't ever going to be able to be something that actually provides value to other people, let alone ourselves. And we finally got over it. We got sick and tired of being sick and tired of having people call about credit cards, having people, being 2 months behind on a car payment and hoping we could refinance for a lower payment. But guess what? When you have a bad payment history, nobody's going to offer you a refi for your car. No. And I just remember that we decided to just be done with being where we were. And so Jared and we got with Chris Cook and I said, man, I am so sick and tired of being here. So sick and tired. Tell me exactly what I need to do and I'm going to do it. and Jared's going to do it. We're going to work together. We're going to make it happen. This was right after conference. And 3 months later, we found ourselves owning our agency with Symmetry. So it was August conference in 2019. And we found ourselves in December of 2020 owning the agency and having what we wanted to have.
It's funny how that works.
It's funny how it works, but if it wasn't for you, Marlon, being there and calling us out and being like, don't be this person that you think everyone wants you to be.
Yeah.
Be the person that you have deep down inside of you, and you have no idea how much better that's going to be for other people. And I just wanted to thank you for that. Thank you.
It was great.
Yeah.
My first impression of Marlon was my wife coming to me crying, saying, "I just talked to Marlon."
My wife tells me not to make women cry the first time I meet them. So I can't do that because I made a lot of women cry. But I want to say this because this slipped my mind. This is the most profound thought that has ever been told to me. That if you'll dig deep on this, it'll change generationally your life. It'll change your children's future. And it's this: average people focus on the how. Wealthy people focus on the why. See, my family was bigger than my fears. And after a certain point, my dreams were bigger than my fears. I was scared to death too, but I was scared to death of what my family wasn't going to get. Average people think about how. So let me tell you, how do you know if you're average? If you set a goal and you think, how am I going to do that? You're average. If you don't set a big enough goal because you don't think, I don't know how I can get that. Like in September, I'm going to recruit 100 people in a month. That's my goal. 100 people in a month in September. Personally, direct to me. I'm not thinking about how, I'm thinking about why. Why do I need to recruit 100 people and why? Because their lives need to be like my life is. They need to be the best version of themselves. I want them to look at their bank account. See, everything was always out of my control. See, when I worked for a boss, my time was out of my control. When I worked for a boss, my freedom was out of control. Never in my life have my finances been out of control. I just got back from Cabo and had $17,000 deposited in my bank account last week. And I'm a homeless dude. I was homeless, but I don't think about the how. The how never matters. The why matters. Chris texted me and he told me, I'm going to surprise some people. Chris texted me and said, I need you to talk to people about why they need to go to conference. Chris will probably never have me on a call again, but I'm going to tell you what. Here's why you need to go to conference. Because you won't make it if you don't. Matter of fact, don't go to conference. I tell my agents all the time, don't go. I'm not trying to talk people into going to conference. I'm not trying to talk people into reaching their dreams. There's a story that I talked about last week on a call, or 2 weeks ago on a call, and it was I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Gideon in the Bible. My mom used to read me this story when I was a little boy, but I reread it and it changed the way I thought about things. And so Gideon was this man that he was leading an army of 32,000 men. He was leading an army of 32,000 men, and he was going to fight 135,000 men. You do the math, 32,000, 135,000. And the first thing the God tells him to do is he says, I want you to get on there and I want you to give these guys the talk that we're about to go fight 135,000 men. And he said, the men that are asking how and they don't believe, let them go. And so he gives the speech. There are 32,000 men. After he gives the speech, 22,000 men don't see how they're going to beat 135 men. They don't believe. And so they went home. He didn't say, go home, live another day. Go be with your families. I don't need you here. Some of you guys are asking how. Maybe you need to go home. Maybe you need to go back and get a job. Maybe this isn't the business for you. He went from 32,000 to 10,000. And then he wasn't done. And then the Lord said, march him around, get him really, 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 really tired. And they marched around, they're tired. And he said, take them down to the riverbed. And he said, when they went down there, the ones that were running down there and they're throwing off their shields and throwing off their swords, and they're so exhausted, they're just eating water. They're careless. They don't understand the opportunity at hand. They don't understand the vision. He said, let them go home. That was 9,700 men went home that day. He said, the men you go in the battle with are the men that are holding onto their swords and they're kneeling down on the ground and they're lapping water like a dog and they're looking around and they're aware. He said, that's who you go into battle with. He said, you go into battle with those men because they believe. And 300 men beat 135,000. Why? Because they believed. The only problem in your life, the only reason you wouldn't go to conference, the only reason you're not at the top of the company, the only reason I'm not at the top of the company, the only reason you don't have everything that you want in your life is because you really don't believe. Look into my eyes. I believe this is the best company on earth. I believe that I'm the greatest speaker in the universe. I believe that I can have anything that I want to have. I believe that I can recruit 100 people in a month. I believe that this company is going to make more millionaires in a few years than any other company ever has. I believe that this is the greatest company on earth. I believe that if I help a client, that when they pass away, their family's going to be better. I believe. The problem is that some of you guys just don't believe. And so my goal is not to turn doubters into believers. When I read Gideon's story, I went and read it again, Jared. I never go in there. And when the 10,000 are leaving, Gideon's not grabbing some of them and saying, hey, come on, you sure you don't want to stay and fight? When the ones that threw off their shields and their swords, he's not going and picking it up and saying, hey, you dropped this. He only went into battle with those who believed. The only problem you have in your life is there's something in you that doesn't believe. Because if you believed, you'd tell everyone you know about this. If you believed, you'd write 1 million policies in a month. If you believed, you'd be on every call. If you believed, you'd read the book of the month twice. I'm reading 3 books right now. I'm reading Tim Grover's Restless. I'm reading Leadership and Self-Deception. And I'm reading Think and Go Rich because I read Think and Go Rich every month. Why? Because I don't want to be the same. I don't want to have the same thoughts I had yesterday. But some of you guys will still wonder how. And unfortunately, those are the people that won't make it to conference. And those are the people that'll be on YouTube saying Symmetry doesn't work. And those will be the same people looking at another job saying when Symmetry goes public and people become multi millionaires. You're going to say, I was a part of that company once. There's some crazy black guy that screamed and yelled and cried and didn't quit. And he told us about, there's some crazy dude. But listen, I'm crazy for all the right reasons. I'd rather be crazy for my dreams than average and have no dreams. I'd rather be crazy and try to take my daughter to the Louvre next year so she can see her daddy chasing greatness than take her to Disney World. I'd rather build a multi-million-dollar house for my wife, so when we get in an argument, we can get away from each other and not have to talk, and we can be in separate wings of the house when I'm having a temper tantrum, than having to walk by each other and ignore each other. I believe. I believe in me. I believe in this company. What do you believe? So sorry, I went on tangent.
No, I know, Marlon, we're just so grateful that you took the time with us today. You know, what I got from this, y'all, is that if you're waiting until you get to conference to believe in yourself, you're going to get average results. You want to be above average. You want to think like a millionaire. If you want to have the things that you truly say that you want to have for your family because your why is strong, then the focus doesn't need to be on the how. It needs to be on the why. Let your mentor lead you in the direction of having the things you want to have, because there's a good chance they already have the balance of time and money that you don't have yet. And if part of that formula to getting there and having what you want is going to conference, then the how doesn't matter. You'll make it happen. It's just focusing on the why.
Listen,
And Marlon, I'm so grateful
listen,
for the time.
I'm grateful for you. I want to cut you off because I'm grateful for you. You're going to tell me you're grateful for me, but I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. And Jared, what you guys have accomplished and who you become. You stuck around long enough. I've watched you guys fight through so much adversity, and you're still here. You're still here, and you're not just here. Now you're winning at a high level. And we're going to be business partners soon. You're going to be at a 120 contract. But here's what I want to do, because I don't want to just talk the talk. I want to walk the walk. There's somebody out here who can't go to conference. They can't afford it. Here's what I want you to do. The first person that puts their name in the chat box, I'll buy your plane ticket to conference. Right now, if you can't go, you can't afford it. You don't see how it's going to be there. Kelsey, got it. Kelsey, I'm going to buy you a plane ticket. Because I remember wanting to win so bad for my family and not knowing how I was going to get there. I didn't know how I was going to make it. And Nate Alford called me up, and I'll share this story and I'll be done. Jared or Jordan, give me Kelsey's information so I can call her after this.
We'll get that to you for sure.
Absolutely.
But Nate Alford called me up and he said, I'm homeless. And he said, hey, I need you to get your ticket to conference. And I thought for a second, I'm like, dude, you know, I'm homeless. I don't have any money. I can't afford to go to conference. I'm not living at home with my wife and kids. And he told me a story that changed my life, and I hope this changes somebody's life. And he said, Marlon, I understand what you're saying, but about 8 years ago, I had to go to a conference, and my mentor called me up. And he said, Nate, are you going to conference? And he said, sir, I just got into a bad accident. It was snowing in Tulsa. I got into a car accident. I can't go to conference. And he said, well, Nate, are you all right? And he said, yeah, I'm okay. He said, are you hurt? He said, no, I'm not hurt. He said, I guess I'll see you on Monday. He said, sir, it's Friday. I don't have money to get my car out of the impound. It's wrecked. I didn't have insurance. I don't have enough money to get to Chicago. He said, Nate, are you in the hospital? He said, no. He said, are you hurt? He said, no. He said, I guess I'll see you on Monday. And Nate said, sir, you don't understand. He said, Nate, let me stop you. He said, you don't understand. He said, I make $1 million a week net. Two things I know: losers make excuses, winners find solutions. I guess I'll find out which one you are. And he hung up the phone on him. And Nate's telling me this. I don't see how I'm going to make it to conference. I'm homeless. All my belongings are in a car. And I just need a handout. I need someone to help me. And he says, buddy, I love you, but if you don't go to conference, I can't work with you. And Nate Alford hung up the phone on me. I was so mad. And I let that anger turn into movement. And my wife and kids went to school that next morning. I went home and I stole money from my kids that they were saving to go to Disney World. And I found my wife's stash and I stole money. And I had just enough money to go to conference for 2 days and not even stay for the third day, not have enough money to eat and have enough money to get home. Because I had to start thinking different. The biggest thing about me getting to conference was not conference. It's the man I became and figuring out how to get there. And I realized I can do anything I set my mind to. I can do anything I set my mind to. That's the moment, Jared, that my life changed when I realized going to a stinking conference that didn't mean much to me at the time taught me that I can do anything that I set my mind to. And I came home from that conference and I looked my wife and kids in the face and said, your life will never be the same. And it hasn't. Because I stopped focusing on the how and I started focusing on the why. If you've already got a ticket to conference, stop being selfish, invite someone else. If you got someone else coming to conference, get 10 people. Be an agency owner in 3 months like Jared and Jordan were. Don't settle for being your average self. Settle for being the best. And if it's not for you, because Symmetry ain't for everybody, baby. If it's not for you, go find out what that is, because life is short. I buried 2 of my best friends last year. And I get to watch their families. I get to watch Jimmy Spildener's wife live a different life than she ever met. I get to watch Matt Smith's wife and his baby girls live a different life because he committed to his why here. That's why I do what I do. That's why it's important to get to conference. Stop focusing on the how, focus on the why. Jared and Jordan, thank you guys so much for having me on. I appreciate it. Love you. So proud of you. And let's go win. I'll see you guys at the top.
Appreciate
Awesome.
you.
Appreciate you, Marlon.
Love you,
Guys, I love it. Get registered today, guys,
Run it.
for conference. Let's have a wonderful week. And, Marlon, thank you again for all of your time. Y'all have a great, wonderful day.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Thank you.
See y'all.